nation under indivisible, with liberty.
We have a short agenda tonight that's in front of you. If you haven't reviewed it, I'll give you a second to review, and then and if there's no additions or changes, we will accept the agenda after a move to approve the agenda.
Second.
So a motion and a second. All those in favor? 5-0. So we'll have this third workshop tonight. Tuesday night, we completed second reading, and it has been voted on, and it will be presented tomorrow for review. That will have a public hearing on next council meeting. Am I correct, Mr. Minister? Yes, sir. Followed by our final meeting in June for third reading. So what we'll have tonight is Ms. Anderson has some specific questions about the current budget, some suggestions I'm assuming, and we will discuss those this evening. And knowing that we've already completed second reading, and if that's what will be published, any actions going forward will be for changes prior to third reading. Is everybody clear on that? Okay. And so item 5, General Fund 110, subsection A, is special appropriations of Department 563. Ms. Anderson.
First, let me thank you all for willing to come back and discuss this concern that I have. We have received some letters requesting funds, and they are put into the special appropriations division of our budget. And when I reviewed the letters this time, as I always do, I had some concerns. And so these are the concerns that I have. Listed under special appropriations, we gave 3 cities $10,000 each. That was Clinton, Lawrence, and Fountain Inn. I am requesting that we not put these entities or agencies or cities or towns, whatever their name would be, in our appropriation budget because we have never given to them before. I look back and I saw, anyway, we got one letter from Clinton requesting $10,000. We did not get a letter from Lawrence nor Fountain Inn. And the one letter that we did get from Clinton was requesting something for the rails, ribbon on the railroad, ribbon and rails and ribbon. And that is a festival or a little something that they do downtown to bring the community in as well as people from out of town. And I think that particular event would fall under the accommodation tax. And I think that it should be appropriately placed there. The reason why too is that these are tax entities of their own, and they can tax their citizens whatever they want to. And I don't feel like we as a county should take funds that are brought into the county coffers and allocate them out to the cities. So that's my personal under appropriation. That's not all of the appropriation.
Right.
Okay, that's one. And the second one is I would like to see an increase in the Federation for the Blind. I think they've been asking for $7,000 for maybe 5 or 10 years. And the reason why they started asking for that really is because there was a time we did have a lot of appropriations in this book. But since we had got short of funds, we felt like we could not continue to do and work the way we were working. So I'm just thinking what they did is they just asked for the $7,000 they've been asking for because they're happy to get that. And I just felt like they need to be increased. I'm requesting that it be increased to at least $5,000.
On that, so that was a specific request from the Bell Center of the Blind for the Blind for $1,500. And that was their ask, correct? And we
Yes,
funded.
as Ms. Anderson pointed out, that's what they've historically asked for. That's what they asked for again this year.
I just, you know, they were one of the only ones that we kept in our appropriation because that is the only entity within the county that offers service to our citizens that are blind. And
But they didn't, what you're suggesting is not a request that they put back forward and said, we didn't ask for enough, we want more or anything like that.
no, they didn't ask for it. I just felt like I think they're like, they are so happy to stay within the county for that $7,000 that they just asked for the same thing they've been asking before. And I feel like they need to increase because everything else has increased.
It says 1,500, was 7,000.
I'm thinking about another one. I'm thinking about Pete Money, excuse me, 1,500. I'm sorry. It was 1,500, 1,005.
Okay.
And so I was just requesting that we could raise that, increase that to $5,000. The next one is Piedmont Aging, and they offer service to our seniors. They offer much to even explain. They offer over 3,000 meals, conjugate meals to seniors who are at home. They offer a service of in-house meals. They've been offering them every day until the month of March, and they went in with Lawrence, and they only offer twice a week now. That's on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They also offer transportation to the medical services that they need, and they also pick up people who are in rehab, who need food carried out to them for a period of time. And so that number for conjugate meal could fluctuate. And I just feel like they did not have a specific request period. They just asked for help. And so I just, no, they asked for seven, we gave them 7,000. And so I'm asking that we just double that to 15,000. Because of all, and the number of seniors, and our seniors is gonna, the number of seniors is gonna rise in 2026. We will outnumber everybody at that particular stage here in South Carolina. We'll be the largest population. Your senior would be your largest population. The other one is I'm requesting that on the request form, I think we put down $13,000, but they didn't request nothing but $12,000.
What are we speaking to?
Straight Street
Straight Street.
Youth Center. And I know about Straight Street. We've given to that organization in several ways. I serve on the Barley Foundation, and Barley Foundation give them something, and several other organizations also give them something. But I think picking up this agency would only provide havoc for the county later on, because as I was stating earlier, our list of appropriations at one time was 30 or more asking, and we could not provide all of the asking. And I think this would open up a can of worms with the idea that everybody could come in and ask for some money for operational. I believe the youth is an organization we should support at all times because they are our future. But I feel like most of the things that are asking in here, he said, start a Straight Street Scholarship Fund. We have a scholarship fund within the county. where every student who finished school can go to Piedmont Tech or to PC for free. And we just put at least $150,000 into that scholarship for all of our students, not for some, but for all who apply. And so we already have a scholarship fund, and we shouldn't be giving money to a scholarship fund because we have one. And we should try to support that one and make sure that we keep it stable. And as far as the outing or taking them to a bowling outing and a trip to, I don't know what Bear Park Acres is. Do anybody know?
Yeah, I believe that's a facility within the county that does confidence road courses. They don't hold me to that. I just remember reading something about it.
Okay, but I don't know anything about it, but I do know Camp Fellowship offers things for the youth. A lot about the YMCA offer things for the youth, outings and things, and I think we would just run into an issue that I don't think we need to run into. If we want to allocate funds for the youth and make sure we are providing some kind of way for them to have an outing, whatever that fund is, whatever that number is that we want to put there, we should put it there so several organizations can ask for it. I don't think we need to single out an entity or an agency because I think we're gonna cause friction.
What was the criteria for any agency to apply for funding from the county for a special program? So it's open to anyone in the county to ask.
As of right now, the next budget year, I'm going to approach council with the actual form that has financial, sort of like, it mirrors the ARPA process that we went through. Agencies asking for ARPA money. I'd like to ask council if I were be able to pursue that route, where they have to disclose financials. That's those you have more information to go off of. But this year solely it was a letter of thanks.
But I thought at one time they were supposed to comply somewhere with a budget. We also had something in place where we followed up on whether they sent information back in or not. Can't address that because I don't have the full knowledge of it.
Yes, ma'am, you're exactly correct. So that is part of the process. There is a follow-up that we do internally as far as staff with numbers that we have to maintain for the state. So if we give out monies to nonprofits, things of that nature, we then follow up on those financial documents and obtain those, how they be beyond them on those. But the initial part of that step is they simply ask for the monies. So the ask that were asked of us for the budget process are.
We always tried to make sure we were touching almost each sector of the county with our appropriations, but we would not for things like some of it that was mentioned here, we did not do that, not for scholarships or anything like that. And that's what was stated on the request that was sent to us. And I just feel like we need to honor that, but that's left up to the council. That's our appropriation. See, I did have a question about the amount of money that Piedmont Tech requested. Because I do know we already give a meal to, well, we put out a meal to higher ed. 90% of it goes to Piedmont Tech and 10% goes to USC. And that's started when we got ready to build the campus over here for Piedmont Tech here in Lawrence. And to my knowledge, I thought it was for the maintenance and everything of the building, because when we first built the building, USC was also in the building with Piedmont Tech. And but I thought it was something, excuse me, that one of the representatives said a couple of years ago about each one of the counties. They did do a different fund in, and Renee and I, Renee tried to call. I said, I'm sorry, Renee. trying to call someone to, get some information about that, and at that particular time, that person wasn't there. But, I feel like we can pass it as right now because I don't have enough information to give you. And, but I'll just try to make sure at the next time when we get ready to do it next year, that I will provide a little more information regarding that. I realize that I'm one of the older ones on the board, and the council and I have seen some of these things happen that you have not seen, but at one time, we didn't have some of the funds that we do have now, but in all things, I just really feel like we just use our funds appropriately, and we need to make sure that we are touching as many people as we can and serve to make all the best that they can be.
Before we move past special appropriations, are there any questions or comments?
You said about Straight Street had put that in for 13,000.
No, we had,
The street requested 12.
That was an error on our part, and I'll own up to that one. So it'd be correct.
Want to give them more or less?
no, what it was on our little sheet that you have, if you look at your sheet, I think it has them down to 13,000,
13, right,
but they only request 12,000.
okay, that's what it was.
And so, but we gonna change, they're gonna change that back to 12, but I'm not requesting we give them anything.
Right, okay, that's what I was thinking, saying.
Yes, ma'am.
It's true.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to claim my spot as a missionary from the cities to the county to remind that everybody that may not want to send the money back to the cities, but you sure don't have any problem taking it from the cities. I mean, everybody in the city pays all of the taxes that you pay, and so seeing this engines to our economy and to our prosperity, and I'd like for them to be included.
So last budget year, the numbers that were proposed for city support, municipality support in this are what we gave last year, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct. Not a dime more, not a dime less. We just, as of from last year to this year.
That's what I was saying, this year, only one asked. And that was Clinton, and the other two did not ask. And we give things back to the city, but now I said, excuse me. I'm not gonna confrontate about what someone else was saying. You know, even though I disagree, but you know, I feel like we give to the city, so, but go ahead, because he has a right to say whatever he wants to say.
Correct. That's why we're here tonight in this discussion, to see what the concerns were on the budget. I personally have, I spent a lot of time in this budget. And I was satisfied or comfortable with everything, and when I voted for it that way, but I'm also interested in everybody's opinion and thoughts on why they would want to change things too. So that's why we're here, but any action we could take at one of the future council meetings before third reading. But I didn't see anything here specific to Federation of the Blind. 100% support the work they do, but the ask that they asked for was 1,500. I'm not going to read into what their mind, what their thoughts were on. I wish I could have had more, but I only asked for this or whatever. If they find out that they need more and they petition us as a council, then we could address it. I don't want to just start adding and taking away from people just for my feelings. If somebody asks for something and we give them the full support, then I think that they followed the process. They made an ask, we fully funded the ask, and if they want to change it next year, I think that's appropriate. But I'm not thinking that we have taxpayer monies that we can say, no, you deserve a little more because what you're doing, you need more, so I'm going to give more of our funds to this, when we've had special things that we had to cover, that were over on certain things we're covering out of our excess or general fund, that are essential services that we have to do, and want to kind of be good stewards of the money that we have and give them the ask if it's appropriate, but not necessarily increase it just for an emotional fee. That's just me. But that's just one person. Anyone else have any comments on the special appropriations?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Anderson mentioned, Clinton asked for 10,000. Clarence Valley and did not ask, but we gave. That's what are you all saying?
In the budget process last year, we had one political subdivision as far as the city asked for money for their ministry program. So what we did is we collectively went to the other cities to be fair across the board to everybody, to be fair and equitable. So we included this in the last budget. This year, one city remembered to send in a request. They sure the others, but if I pick up the phone and call them like every other organization you're discussing, but the mindset was we simply transposed what council approved last year, carried it over to this year, included those special appropriations. Then it's up for y'all to deliberate if you want to take them away or leave them in there. We just found out the way the budget process worked, if you recall, we kind of took a snapshot of what was done last year. Made changes with additional revenues coming in this year or cuts that were told by council. Just added those over last year and presented a budget to y'all, which happened to be balanced based off the work we did as staff. So it would be at your discretion if you'd like to keep those in there or not. We just added them in based on what was done last year for those individual cities. But one, yes, did make a specific request.
So yeah, they were in there from the front as we reviewed them, and if someone had never asked before, they would not even be listed in the previous budget. And I think at this time, Ms. Anderson is looking at that particular list and making her opinions on whether they are appropriate or not. We still have a third reading, so
Correct.
That's still, it's still a working document as. Any other questions? Okay. Item number 6 is the solid waste fund 210. Letter A is discussion on the box site at pending pay. Ms. Anderson.
I had the opportunity to go up and talk with Ms. Mara yesterday and ask for her help in what I had tried to work out in my mind regarding some pay for the box employees and the laborers also. And I based that on what Mr. Carroll had said about packing. When you differentiate the salary between the box workers and the laborers.
Compression of the salaries.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I come up with, I would like to request that the box employees would get $12 an hour and the laborers would get $13.50 an hour. I just really think it's a disgrace to a certain extent that we are paying these people lower than that. In that every time we bring a prospect in here, we want them to be offering $16 and $18 and $20 an hour for everybody else. And our own employees are receiving less than $12 an hour. And so for me to grasp that, it's hard for me to work with that as far as individuals are concerned, because I really feel like our employees are important. They what make the operation function. You should respect them and pay them well. And I think anybody less than $12 an hour, it's got to be hit at the poverty level. according to your statistics. And so those are the reasons why well, we come up with them because we felt like, cause I think, that it would not cost as much to do this, and it would not put any pressure on the county to really, come up with this amount of money. I think, with the total packet would be, $57,203. If I'm not mistaken. And let me go back with, Ms. Margaret, we worked on it a good bit. I would say about 3 or 4 hours, so that she can explain it a little bit better than I can.
That amount you're talking about includes the change that we made last budget, where we went from what they were making to 11, what was it, 11, 15, 1047 to 1115. The difference is what you're asking for versus what we asked for last budget. Being 25,490. What she's asking for is 25,490 over what we just approved.
So for clarification, the last meeting, council voted to go up 15 cents an hour plus the 6% cost of
Right,
living,
that's exactly right.
which was your 50.
The
50,
number.
the number you quoted, 57,000.
No, it's not quite that.
No, no,
Not quite that, no.
It included that plus what you're asking for right now.
What the salary come up to be, if I'm not mistaken. The boxes right now is 1047. What? The recent budget, the last one we did, y'all passed on last Tuesday. That would bring their salary up to 1125. And I'm requesting that they go up to $12.
So the difference from 1125 with the 12 is $25,000.
And there was only 3 laborers, there's only 3 laborers that it impacted. And I think that didn't come up to nothing.
Yeah, but we have more part-time laborers around the county, Parks and Rec and stuff.
So how does that affect the next level up, the person that if they jump somebody else that is in another position,
Not in their budget.
But no, I want to think they were the only one that low.
So I think one of the asks, or one of the discussions we had was we need to at least be competitive with what Greenwood was. And Greenwood's box attendance, I think, are at 1125, which is what we got them to. Is that correct, Mr. Hicks?
That was the intent. It was to get at better than where Greenwood was paying them, and 6% plus the $15 an hour was the recommendation made by the Public Works Director.
Say that again now, Thomas, would you say that?
Yes, ma'am. The recommendation of the Public Works Director to get them at or above where Greenwood is at was to do the 6% cost of living, which was proposed to all employees, plus that additional 15 cents an hour that council adopted that, and that would be gotten to that. And that's at that, and excuse me, just for not recalling, but that's that $11-something an hour that you put it before. And where we're at right now is the discussion taken up from that roughly $11.50 an hour. Actually, 11.25, I think is where it's at.
$11.25.
And I think if I may be wrong, but when we had that particular discussion, I believe we were 7-0 in agreeing to go to that, to match Green. Is that correct?
That was the intent of that motion and discussion that was written, that was ultimately passed. Yes, sir.
And let me ask this, because Ms. Anderson had asked several times, are we looking back again at having a comp study come back in and update our previous one?
I am strongly encouraging that from my seat, praying upon the council to do that. The reason being, council adopts historically over the past 2 years, a cost of living increase based on CPI for the county. However, as the economy changes, it's easily, if it's gone up with CPI, it can go down. So we need to make sure we're making accurate adjustments as we go along, not just blindly adopting CPI and ensuring that's the accurate route. So if you stay on top of it on a set basis, whether that's every other year, every 3 years, and 4, to make sure everything's in line. In my opinion, that would be the most responsible thing.
And that 6%, I know exactly what the neighboring county's getting, and they're getting half of that. So they're not getting the 3%, we're doing 6%. So
Correct.
we're already giving that in that discussion. So I thought that 11.25 for the box attendant was appropriate to be competitive with somebody's comparable to us and fair with the CPI.
Most counties, hearing from my colleagues, most counties are being very conservative with what they adopt for COLA this year. So we're, proposing 6%. Really, most of what I hear is going around 4 on average, if I had to spend it. So you're correct in saying we adopted 6% for the box site workers, like all other employees, plus council adopted the 15% extra an hour. That's currently what we're.
But looking, I'm just looking at, presently, almost all those positions are held by someone who is retired. And they're doing part-time work. And I'm looking at as the future going down the road. We're gonna have some full-time people in some of those jobs. And those jobs need to be upgraded. I think a lot of things, I know we just did the comp study, but the comp study was also based on what was previously the salary also. So they had to work with whatever they already had, and we was already low in the beginning. On some of the positions, not all of them. Some of our positions and stuff been out of whack for a long time, and that this did not bring it all in perspective when we did this last compensation. And it will not bring it all into some kind of consistency until we be consistent ourselves and how we look across the board of moving people to the desired salary that they need to have. And I know that that's a big job, but I just hate to see people coming to work every day and not being able to provide to come up to $12 an hour, which I think that's what it is over at probably McDonald's and some of these other places.
But you called it right. These are mostly retired people that just want a little extra money working there. The actual job description is very limited. They don't do any physical labor and they're basically monitoring. They're a monitor. And so I think it's appropriate for that. You could take somebody in another position and put them at a box site to work. But you couldn't take somebody from a box site and put them in another position that requires a different skill set, which is why it's kind of where it is. That is not a knock at what they do. It's just that is kind of a job that somebody that wants to work and be there, but not have a lot of demand on the job itself, not a lot of computer type work they got to do. Don't have to do a lot of thinking on critical thinking, a lot of heavy lifting or anything like a laborer might on the lifting. They just are monitoring for us and being there for us, which is very valuable, but that has its own pay grade. And so that's where I think we are with that. Their value is immeasurable, but the job itself is what it is.
But they do a lot more. They do some lifting. They do a lot more out there than people lift.
I'm just telling you what, if you look at the job description, they don't want them unloading people's stuff. They don't want them doing any of that. And the public works director, who's kind of over them, said, that's a good recommendation. That's good. It's comparable. And that's what he would recommend. So that's why we did that. And that's why I'm comfortable with that. But anybody else has any discussion on that, I'd be happy to. I've written everything down. Is there anything else that you had concerns with? And these are the two items, but in the special appropriations for box site pay. Any council members have any discussion or comments they want to have?
I think all these points valid. And I'm pretty much in favor of them. But at this point in time in our budget season, I'd like to see all these addressed for the next budget. But at this point in time, I don't know that I want to see us backpedaling.
Mr. Trumbull, anything? No, sir. Ms. Clark? Ms. Anderson?
The reason that I'm bringing those concerns, because I think those are concerns that are gonna be one of our, if we don't address them, starting at this particular time, it's gonna be a problem for us next year and the following years to come. That's one reason why I felt like it was important to, bring them forward so we can discuss them.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I do think, and I don't want to speak out of school, but I do think that the county administrator is going to have a new process next budget year by which we would have these things come to us with a lot more information, a lot more vetting, financials, and so we could make an educated decision on each one as they come in. I do think also there needs to be a specific process by which if somebody wants the funding, they come and present and do the request. And then we can have these conversations at that time without these people specifically coming and asking for an adjustment or something, knowing that we're just dealing with what we had in front of us. I'm comfortable with this. I'm kind of similar with Mr. Johnson. Thought the budget was solid. We got a pretty good document, balanced, but we could do better. And next year might be the most appropriate time to do that. That's just my opinion. If there's nothing else, we still have 2 more meetings. We have the public comment meeting at our first, and we also have our 3rd reading at our 2nd meeting that we can take actions at that time.
Point of order, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we just gonna leave it, this consensus of this body, just to leave the appropriations like they are and leave the box site attendees pay at the same thing.
I took this as you had these items that you were concerned about. I'm not gonna make a motion on any of these. Is there any other council member who'd like to make a motion on these?
Let's ask this question, so we are looking at the box site workers at 1125. That's what's in the budget.
Yes, ma'am, that's what's currently in the budget. So what that did, just to get the math behind it. Where they're currently at, they added the 6% cost of living adjustment, like everybody else, the council voted to give them the 15-cent hour extra. If it was voted. So that number, the 1125, is what it pans out to after those adjustments. Which is the recommendation of the public.
But we do need to take a closer look at it as of for next year. Ms. Anderson, I do want to make you all your points that, that we do need to take a closer look at the budget and not just stick in because they did it from last year. We got to look at this a little more closely. I don't feel comfortable just giving money because we had it last year and they didn't request it. That's my point. That we should not be giving to if they didn't request it, because if we're gonna do it for one, if they request what 1,500, then that's what we gave them, then that's what we gave them. But if they didn't request it, they should not receive anything.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's look at the,
There were no new dollars added, staff didn't come up with new dollars. We took the snapshot of what council, like we put it on last year. I believe you voted against the budget, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Anderson. I don't recall, but I don't wanna call it.
Last year?
assumption. Yes, ma'am, last year, but we took the consensus, of the money that was passed last year. Snapshot of that this year, and made any new adjustments coming in, so we didn't ancillary add any other dollars, but I do understand the point, we'll take that into consideration next
Take
year.
any consideration to come up with something when we work with us,
Yes,
this part specifically. Thank you so much. I mean, but I'm good with what we have voted on, so we have to roll with it this year. I feel like we need to just go ahead and play it out for next year and look at it again, Ms. Ellison, to make sure these things are taken care of the hell in the way.
No motions to come to Morris. If anybody can, we'll ask for a motion. Make a motion for the door. Right, motion second. All those in favor? Any additional?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
We had a big, this might be a record crowd, but not.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to be the visitor. Not in your county.
Just signed in for public comment.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
You should have said, I vote for more subdivisions. Especially that's not in this county. Hit the microphone.
I've been holding to the-